Inner Peace, Better Health, where insights meet soul. I am your host, Shreya. Today's guest, Taryn Voget, isn't just unlocking genius, she is decoding the divine sparks within. As a founder of the Genius Lab, her work weaves neuroscience, intuition, and spiritual depth to show us that genius isn't rare, it's just waiting to be revealed. So let's explore how brilliance and spiritually are not just connected, they are inseparable. So, welcome, Taryn. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
So, Taryn, you described genius as living at the intersection of passion, strategy, and intuition. How did you discover that this intersection is inherently spiritual?
So many years ago, I had this burning question of how do the best do what they do? And I was just fascinated by it. And I realized that people that are really good at what they do have a really hard time teaching it and explaining it because when you get really good at something, it happens in your mind really fast. And what looks like 20 or 50 or 50 steps is like this in someone's mind. And so I built the Genius Lab as a way to have people in my lab to deconstruct how they do what they do and unpack that split second into what is actually going on in their mind. And what I discovered is that genius is not at all what people think it is. People think genius is about IQ or something that can be measured. But in my experience, deconstructing and unpacking the minds of some of the world's best, I discovered that genius is something very different. And that there is call it a recipe for genius. And the recipe for genius is this: it's somebody that is passionate about something. And passion is kind of a loaded term, but they're interested, they're excited, they're curious. There's something that's driving them. So let's just call it passion because I think it's a good word. But a lot of times people don't always feel that deep passion, but they feel a calling.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is that genius is really about strategy. And so you've got passion, and what passion does is it fuels strategy, meaning how you do something, how you go about it, how you host a podcast, how you bake a cake, how you run a marathon, whatever it is, like the how. And inside strategy, there's a bunch of patterns and elements, but let's just call that bucket strategy. And then the third thing I discovered is that what really brings that all together that looks like genius is this idea of channeling or receiving ideas, inspiration, information, that flow state. And so, or people call it in the zone. And so that's really this idea that we're receiving something through us. And because we're pulling that through us from a greater source, it has kind of this perfection quality to it. And that is kind of what feels like genius. But passion plus strategy plus channeling is the three elements that when someone does that enough over time, it looks to the outer world like genius. But the truth is, and here's what's interesting, is that we are all geniusing at some level. Now, we might be early in our journey learning something. Maybe we just started, writing a newsletter, or we just started running a company or whatever it is. And we're geniusing, like we're using our passion plus developing better strategy plus channeling and getting ideas and inspiration and downloads. And yet, when we do that more and we focus more of our intention over time, that all gets better. And then it looks like genius. But we're all geniusing on something that we care about. And whether it's our job or a hobby or something we just enjoy, like cooking, it's the process is the same and the elements are the same. It's the level at which we're operating that is different.
Yes, that's so wonderful, and that surrender is often the real portal, and it's where the striving ends and the element begins and the alignment begins. So, was there a moment in your life when intellect alone couldn't take you further, and you had to surrender to something deeper?
Oh gosh, I could probably give you 1,000 stories, but I will tell you the one that stands out the most because it was one of the more mind blowing experiences. Is that I had done corporate consulting for a long time and I had just really burned out on it. I really wanted to build my own thing. And I spent, I don't know, 6 or 8 months trying to use my mind to figure out what is the thing I'm going to build. And I kind of had some ideas. I wanted to do something no one had done before. I wanted it to be interesting. I wanted it to serve people in some way that would help them because that was interesting to me. And so I kind of had some criteria in my mind, but I just could not come up with it. And trust me, I tried. I mapped it out. I mind mapped it. I tested like everything you could try to do with the mind, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then one day, I really wasn't thinking about anything. It was a Saturday morning, and I was living in the Bay Area in San Francisco at the time, and I was driving over the Golden Gate Bridge, not really thinking about anything. And all of a sudden, this flash of lightning hit my head. It literally felt like a flash, and I saw the whole thing, the whole idea for my company, which at the time was the Everyday Genius Institute. I saw the name, I saw how to build it, I saw what to do, I saw who it was going to serve. Like I saw the whole thing in a flash, just like that. And there's no way my mind could have done that. That was really a channeled moment that was very dramatic because it felt like a flash of lightning. Now, most things aren't quite that dramatic, but in this moment, that was. And that's where you sometimes you can't use the mind. You need to receive information rather than try to construct information. And that's probably the most dramatic example I can think of.
Yes, yes, and I can relate to one of these things. Like you have said that you sparked that thing, in some of my problems in my life. Like I was trying hard to solve those problems, and I was like really thinking what to do and what not. And then when I was sleeping in my dream, I just saw something, the solution, and the next day I was like, okay, I have the solution. I just saw that in my dream. So it's like, yes, the information comes to us. We don't have to go to the information all the time.
It
And
really does. That's such a great example, but I want to just add one thing to that, which is why people think that genius is about the mind, but actually, the real deeper truth is genius is more about receiving information than using the mind to create it. And so that's why you get good ideas when you're sleeping or when you're in the shower or when you're driving or when you're just like not thinking about anything, you're out for a hike, whatever it is. It's because your mind isn't thinking and it's really receptive to tuning into the quantum field to just boop, have something pop in. And our intention, what we're wanting is what focuses us to receive it. But once you're relaxed, then it's like, oh, okay, boom, here's the answer.
yeah, yeah. And I think many of us are taught that genius is something you were born with, or that it looks like exceptional intellect. How do you define genius in a way that is more inclusive and soul led?
So genius is a really loaded term for people. And so let me just deconstruct. So people think that you can measure genius on a test. And a really fun fact is actually there is no such level as genius on any of the IQ tests. That was a really short-lived label for, I don't know, maybe 10 years back in the 1920s. The highest level on an IQ test is now like very exceptional or something. It's not even genius because what they discovered on the genius or on the IQ test, which was basically a standardized test designed to figure out what students were doing well and not doing well in a school. And somehow it kind of took on this life of its own. It measures things like pattern recognition, logic, reason, things that are very, I don't know, just kind of like that sort of linear mental construct, but it doesn't measure creativity, perseverance, grit, channeling, athletic ability. Like it doesn't measure any of those things that can also be genius. So what I think is that genius, the better way to think about it is that everybody has a genius, meaning that everybody has something that their soul is uniquely gifted at, that is kind of like a unique thumbprint that the soul is in the universe. And and we need everybody's genius in order to make the whole picture as beautiful as it is here on earth. So everybody's kind of got this unique thumbprint of a soul signature. Everyone has a genius. Now, the question is, are you activating it? That genius is activated through passion and excitement. Not everybody's doing that, which is why I feel like there's so much wasted genius. But and then through your passion and your excitement to get better at something, anything again, and it doesn't have to be a job, it can be parenting, it can be cooking. It can be anything that's just like you enjoy doing. I think we kind of confuse this. It needs to be a career. It doesn't. But through our passion and our excitement and our interest, we develop our skills and our abilities. And so we are geniusing, meaning, we're taking that passion plus strategy plus channeling and we're developing it over time. And over enough time of geniusing, and we can bring all these elements together, passion plus strategy plus channeling, and we can bring them together consistently and often enough at a high level, it looks like somebody is a genius. But somebody has a genius, many of us are geniusing, and at a certain point, it looks like we are a genius. But I can't think of a single soul on this earth that came in just at this like exceptionally insane genius level. It's all been honed over time. I
Mm.
think of even child prodigies. I don't know. There's this kid on Instagram. I just love him. It's Max Alexander, and he's a fashion designer. And he came in with a passion at 4 years old to make dresses. And ever since he was four, he's been making dresses and he's been passionate about it. He didn't come in as like this top amazing designer. He came in with a passion and he's had teachers and a very supportive family and parents. And now I think he's 9 years old. So he's been at it for 5 years with some of the best help in the world. And his dresses are quite beautiful,
Mm.
but he's been working at it for 5 years, even though he started at four. Now that's a unique example, but he just had a strong soul calling at a young age. I think most of us are finding this more over time and we can find our passion and re-find a new passion at any point in our life.
Yeah, yes. And it's empowering to hear that genius isn't about being the smartest in the room, it's about being the most aligned with your truth. And also, let's talk about fear. You mentioned that fear based thinking clouds genius. Why does fear dim our light, and how can we reprogram that pattern?
So this is a passion of mine, which is really understanding how our beliefs shape our reality. And so beliefs are just really common statements, and we've got really positive ones like I can do it, or people love me, or I'm a great cook, whatever they are, right? Like we've got a lot of positive beliefs, but we also have beliefs that are not the truth of who we are and not really the truth of how reality works. But the crazy thing about those beliefs is it makes it seem like it's true. So examples of that are I have to work hard for money. I have to prove my worth to be loved. Things like that. And that is not the truth. But the thing with these kinds of beliefs is that it uses a bunch of tactics. If you kind of think of a belief as like a person, the positive beliefs are like the cheerleaders, like, keep going, you can do it, you're amazing. And the negative beliefs are like, I'm going to make you feel afraid and scared and limited and like you're not enough just so that I can stay with you forever. And if you think of a belief that kind of has that like devil on your shoulder personality, what those beliefs are doing is trying to keep us in a more limited state so the belief can stay alive. And that is often what makes people feel limited or they're not living up to what they know in their soul they are meant to be, like the full light of their being. And so I think so much of the journey, especially the journey of genius, because it is really addressing those kinds of beliefs and transforming them. Because here's what happens. Here's a really fascinating thing about passion. When you're in your excitement, your passion, your curiosity, doing what you love, that's a very high vibrational state. You feel really happy, you feel good, you feel light, a high vibrational state. But what happens when you get higher in that high vibration state is it tends to shine a light on all of the shadow and limitation within you. And so this is why the journey to genius can sometimes feel really hard. It's not that it's hard, it's just that we're confronted against the pieces of us that are not fully in the light. They're not fully empowered. It's not fully the truth of who we are. And so we go on this journey to do something we're passionate about and we hit a block or a roadblock or a fear or a limitation or a limiting something and we've got to deal with it in order to get to the next level. And that's really the process of geniusing as well is that we transform those pieces and then we take it to the next level, the next level, the next level. And people that are really good at what they do have just been good at working through those fears, limitations. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to be here, blah, 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 like fill in the blank of something that doesn't feel great. And so when we can use the process of geniusing as a way to identify those areas within us that are begging for transformation and begging to be sort of brought into the light, it can be a deeply transformative, empowering process.
Yeah, yes, I totally agree. And I think sometimes the very fear we resist holds the key to our next breakthrough. And also, you have worked with creatives, healers, and visionaries. What patterns do you see when someone is on the verge of unlocking their spiritual genius?
So back to the idea that passion is the fuel for genius. And what is passion? Passion is like our soul saying to us, it's like a little whisper through an energetic feeling. If you go do this, all the good things are going to come to you. Like, this is the path of your highest destiny, is your passion. So follow this feeling, because this is going to lead you to everywhere you want to go. And it's not that there's not going to be bumps on the road or things that need to be transformed, but that passion is our soul whispering to us, go do this thing. And so when people come into my genius lab, it's because they've heeded that call and they followed their passion, and it's created exceptional results and exceptional outcomes for them. And it's rare in my experience that people do one thing for 50 years. Usually people have different passions. This might interest them in one moment, and this might interest them in another. But here's the thing, after enough time, you realize how all the threads connect. It's the same passion through a different lens
Mm.
and a different angle to explore. And so that's why it feels like, well, what's my passion? Well, the better question is, what's my passion right now? Because that is going to build skills, ability, perspective, transformation, all those things within you. And then you'll get to a point where you're like, okay, I feel like I exhausted that within me. Now let me go explore it from another angle. And so you have like a new passion.
Yeah, yeah. And uh, do they often recognize that the shift is happening, or does it sneak up through the life disruption or crisis?
I mean, I think it really depends on the person. Um, I think so many people do what they don't love for a long time, and then they wake up to, this sucks, or they loved it for a while and then they pushed through a period too hard and they kind of reached burnout. I can just speak from experience on this path. And you wake up and you just realize that you pushed too hard, you're over it. Now you need to recharge and do something different. And so I think it really depends on the person and where they're at. What I will say in general is that I'm just noticing in the last few years in particular, this real awakening inside people to follow their unique gifts and abilities and calling, call it your passion, and to rearrange their life in a way that they can do that. And that might mean quitting a job, that might mean letting go of responsibility in some way, that might mean moving to a new place, that might mean, you know, letting something go in order for something new to come in, whatever that is. And so it just seems more like lately more than ever that really is a calling inside of people to step more into the light of their divinity and their true self and let go of what's not that. And sometimes that can be graceful, sometimes it can be a little messy. Sometimes it takes big events to shake us up, a house burning down and a sickness and illness, somebody dying. Like, those are kind of big life shakeup events. And that's for some people maybe what their soul needs to kind of snap them out and to get them onto a new path. And for other people, it's just more elegant and graceful. It just depends on the person.
Yeah, yeah. And there's such a beauty in realizing that sometimes the breakdowns are often the breakthroughs in a costume. And
Yeah. And the breakdowns happen because sometimes we're stubborn and we need to just be laid bare in order to realize, oh my gosh, I need to make some changes in my life
yeah,
that I wouldn't have made had I not been laid bare.
yes, yes, I totally agree. And for our listeners who are craving more alignment between their purpose, intuition, and power, where should they begin?
So those are three different but related things. So alignment comes through passion. And so back to, that's our soul saying, if you do this, this is aligned with your highest destiny, your highest calling, your highest being. So alignment is there. Intuition is listening for that, feeling that, just feeling where to go, regardless of what anybody says, what anyone else is advice. Like, the intuition is like, yeah, but this is what I need to do, and I'm going to follow this. I'm going to make decisions based on what feels right intuitively to me, and I'm going to tune everybody else out. Not that there's not help and wisdom in what other people say, and you can take it where it works, but real intuition is listening to yourself and listening to the whispers that are coming through just for you, even if it's the opposite of conventional advice and wisdom, even if it's the opposite of what you think you should be doing, right? That's real intuition. And that's practice. And power is such a great topic because what is power? The ultimate power is in being yourself so fully and not caring what anybody else thinks. Like, that's power. It's not power over, it's not power under, it is power to be yourself so fully. And those first two things, following your passion and living intuitively from what you think is right for you leads to power. And I think that people really misunderstand power. I think for a lot of my life, I misunderstood power, but it really is about being yourself fully and letting go of the fear that you're going to be judged or persecuted or fail or starve or whatever it is that holds us back from really being the fullest version of ourselves in the world and not really caring what anybody else thinks. Because here's the funny paradox: the more fully you're yourself, the more fully the world loves you. And there's so many examples of great artists that are like this. They're like crazy, eccentric people, and they're so full of themselves, and we love them for it. Like, it's delicious to be in the energy of someone who's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna be myself. And that's delicious. It's a delicious energy. And so it's a fear that's not founded in actual reality.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all your experience and your plethora of knowledge. And if after this podcast, if my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
I have such a fun Substack newsletter. It's totally free and it shares great strategies of genius. It's empowering, it's about passion and purpose, and it's just a fun read. So, for anybody that wants to stay connected, go to my Substack, tarynvoget.substack.com, or you can just search my name in Substack and sign up for my free newsletter. It's a great way to stay in touch. You can link to my podcast from there, which is really great. I talk about strategies of genius, or go to my YouTube channel. My website's on there, all the good things, but go to my Substack and sign up for the free newsletter. It really is it'll probably be the bright part of your week.
Yeah, yeah. And I will make sure to attach all the details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you because you're a wonderful person and the way you shared everything and you have explained this very complex topic. It's so, so beautiful. And I think very few are talking about this topic because I don't think this is a topic that everyone talks about. And to my listeners, Taryn reminds us that genius isn't a gift for the few. It's a calling for all. Your inner brilliance is not just useful, it's sacred. So take deep leap. Trust your knowing and let your soul lead the strategy. You are not just here to survive, you are here to shine. There is inner peace, better health, and the genius in you is ready to rise. Thank you.